how did you find the different communities? So you've taught in a couple of communities around the world now. How do you find the differences and similarities between them?
Well, I don't know for Yao, but for me, I think it's more everybody's really, really supportive and welcoming. Like, I don't think I ever would have had the courage to start anything on my own, even with Yao, if it wasn't for everyone just saying, like, it's an amazing idea, just do it, it sounds new, we haven't seen this before. And especially from Yan and Shaw and William and stuff, like we wouldn't have been able to imagine doing it. I'm really not into business. Like anything money related, I'm kind of So to make parkour into a business, I was a bit worried that I wouldn't enjoy it as much. When I tried to do competitive salsa, I didn't enjoy it. So it was new. But the communities, I think the main differences are that there are cultural differences in general. So parkour is like clothes. It fits people in different ways. So different people, I think, take different parts of parkour ADD that work within what they know and what they believe. So you kind of have a different texture of parkour everywhere you go. And altogether, it makes the whole thing. That's kind of how I see it.
The support was really good from the Yamakasi guys. Shao, Williams, Laurent, and Yan mainly, and Gina. So yeah, that's why we decided it's a good idea actually, because they were behind us. And the difference in communities is actually really visible. Like first in the way they train, and then in the way they teach. Like the biggest difference I think is from France with the others. Like the French guys, like ADD's academies, they teach in a way that is really, I don't know, it's not, I wouldn't say that it's teaching really, it's more like guiding. So they're guiding you through a journey. They're trying to make you realize something, but it's your own journey, kind of. So they're not going to say, oh, do this, then you're going to get that. They're saying, like, I'm suggesting that you try this, and then what you get from it is your journey. It's you to decide.
They want the individual to explore a process and see where they come out at the end. So it's kind of like they're not defining anything fixed. They share what they know, but even that is limited because they want you to interpret yourself the way you learn how. So it's very liberal in a sense, abstract, but it generates a sense of loyalty because there's almost like a father-son or mother-daughter, mother-child like kind of relationship. It's a very attached situation. There's a lot of trust that's built. There's a lot of family feel. There's a fidelity that's built, and it very much is like mentor-mentee. But at the same time, although from the surface it may not seem like it, the older generations are learning a lot from the newer generations. There's a nice interaction that's not always visible on the outside until you train with them. But the majority of practices, even though the fundamental principles are there of the sort of non-physical aspects of it, I think it's still a physical practice in a lot of places. And drilling movements and redefining parkour is what every community does in a different way. Like it's ever growing, even skill level, the kind of artistic side of it, the creative side of it. Each country has its own way of interpreting the movement, and it makes it really beautiful because you go to Spain and you kind of have a sense of what Spanish parkour is, and then you go to France and you know kind of, and then you've got London that's patchwork of a bit of everything, and then it's pretty incredible really. But there is an identity within it.
Like if you go to Denmark, you'll see that that guy has been training in Denmark because they have a really distinct way of moving, or they have like a lot of things they like to do in Denmark, or because they have in Copenhagen, for example, they have like scaffolding everywhere. They are really good at bars. Spanish guys, they'll be more into walls and really low stuff, vaulting and having speed boots, things like this, nice flows. French guys, it's a bit hard to define, I would say.
Yeah.
They're more into
They're much more into acrobatics, but also just general adaptability.
Yeah.
So they don't really apply moves to things.
Yeah.
They move through.
Yeah.
So every time they train, it's very much about moving through and making that move through better. So although they know all the basic standard moves in
they
parkour,
don't fix on movement.
they work on the animalistic side of it quite a lot. And although people think that's a lot of quadrupedy, it's not. It's actually the training is instinctual. So there's a lot of like tap and go. Like you feel the energy and you move. And it takes a lot of training to feel comfortable sort of in that zone, because for me still a wall is a wall. Like I haven't connected with it to the point where I feel like, oh yeah, I could do anything on this thing, you know, but that's their training.
Which one would you say you identify with the most then? Which community?
Oh wow, I think in a short amount of time, I've spent a lot of time with a lot of great people in each community. Not all of them in the world, obviously, but like, you know, Spain, France, Italy, Denmark, Croatia, Serbia a little bit. So I think I find it hard to say, but I feel the most at home in France. But my second language is also French, and I relate to the culture a bit, so I don't know how much of it is also to do with me and my sort of where I come from. But I think that in terms of parkour and their mentality, that idea of family and guides, learning from the elders, it's a path I'm familiar with. It's close to Indian culture, Italian culture, you know, it's part of who I am. And I think it gives me the freedom to figure out me. So I don't feel like I'm following a trend when I'm learning with them. I feel like I'm finding my movement, which is something that I struggle with sometimes, because I compared myself to other people a lot. So even with accents, if I'm in a place for a long time, I pick up the accent straight away. And I think that putting on different masks is something I'm good at. So in France, I quite like it because it allows me to truly ask myself, you know, who am I? So I relate more to their way of training, I think, and I aspire to train well in their way of training. But I think that every sort of parkour community has given me something and continues to do that. So when I went to Denmark and I saw the community aspect, and then I went to France and trained with Jan and Shaw, and when I met William and I heard their stories, their ADD, after déplacement lifestyle, is actually that. It's a lifestyle. Whatever they learn, they apply it to their families, to their friends. And that inspires us every day. So.
For me, it's going to seem a bit weird, but like Kasturi said, I get everything, a lot of things from all the communities that I've visited. I really like the energy and things, but I feel like what I needed, what we're doing, Esprit Concrete, we're doing, because, like I said, I wasn't interested in the movement, and what the Yamakasi guys had is not movement, but it was too abstract for me to feel connected to it. And what the other communities have was not abstract enough. It was too much focused on movement, and I couldn't find my balance. But what we're doing actually now is trying to mix everything and explain for each individual what they're doing, and I think that's really what I missed and what I needed, because I feel like I'm progressing when I'm teaching something, because I'm evolving as well when I'm teaching a class, and when we are planning a class, I'm like, oh yeah, that's a theme that makes sense. And most of the time we're making the the things of the class are related to us. So it's like something I'm struggling with. I'm going to say, okay, let's try to talk about this, and then it makes the thing. So I would say I relate with most of the communities because it's movement or it's principles. But what I think I need is really a homogeneous mix of those two. And I think that's why we try to bring having the movement making sense with life, kind of. So yeah.
Where do you guys think you'll be in, say, 5 years from now? Where would you like to be?
I think we still wake up every day hoping that we're going to have tomorrow. So I think that's quite a difficult question, especially seeing as
5 years is really far.
Yao sometimes forgets things. But I think this year at least, I really want to try to form relationships that are not sort of interim contracts. I really want to form bonds and relationships with people where we're able to give them something, but we're also able to learn. So I want to really aim to work more with the Sport and Mental Health Recreational Alliance. I want to try to establish mental health more as a link to parkour, just as a general kind of reducing the stigma of mental health, because I really believe that everyone is somewhere on spectrums, whatever they might be. And I know that I struggle with days where I feel low or where I feel incompetent, and it's not as scary if we acknowledge that there is a normality to it. So of course there are people who struggle a lot more than others, and that's why I have a job. But at the same time, I think that if we make it more commonplace, even in a field where it seems so unreachable, so people watch YouTube videos and they think, I could never do that, but reaching out to homeless communities, reaching out to people who have perhaps sort of difficulties waking up in the morning and finding a reason for something, if we can give them something to look forward to and to rediscover that motivation, that's what I'd like to do this year, but with organizations that are already doing a lot of good and giving them something different, maybe a different perspective on things. So that's what we're doing this year, is just talking to a lot of people, getting what we do out there, trying to finish my doctorate, because the thesis that comes out of that hopefully will inform what we do, and we want to try and research what we do as we go along. So in the next 5 years, hopefully working with dermatology populations, with my supervisor, working with seeing how this relationship with parkour and counselling psychology actually is in practice, hearing from the people who do it, because at the moment it's new. So really researching it, but also developing it a bit more with collaboration, and in 5 years I really hope more of us will be collaborating together, everyone who teaches parkour, everybody becoming a bit more aware of mental health and its implication in it, what parkour can do for it, what it can do for parkour, and ultimately promoting and trying to maintain the philosophy of ADD in the UK, because that's something I needed to leave the UK to find, and I think that a little piece of it should live here, because I think there's a lot of benefit to it. So if we can promote that and travel a little bit doing that, I think that's it. But we're quite day by day, week by week kind of people. We don't make 5-year plans. So I don't know what's going to happen in 5 years, but hopefully a lot more of good things.
So make connections. Try to share actually our knowledge of the community, because like we said, we traveled a lot and saw a lot of various way of training or teaching or expressing themselves, people expressing themselves. So try to share our knowledge and make the community a bit closer together.
I think that's one thing that's really important. When you asked, I should have said it before, but when you asked what's the difference between us, is that for us, it's really not important for us to be really profitable from this business. Like, we've been really lucky in the first 7 months that we've been open. We've done things we can only have sort of dreamed of. We weren't thinking about that. But for us, the biggest thing about parkour and why we love it, and especially ADD, is that it's not competitive.
Yeah.
And even the competition you have with yourself is supposed to be one that you learn to love and you learn to get close to and you can appreciate without self-deprecating. So if we can try and promote that in the community, it's a kind of our mission to promote people who are doing, you know, amazing things. Like, one person can't do everything. One person can't know everything. So for us, it would be amazing if we could really be a collaborative group of organizations that spread a message, that spread a movement. But at the same time, people come to us and what we are offering is not for them. And we happily want to refer them to people we know and we trust and we've trained with. There are people who work for different organizations. I go and train with them on a Thursday when I'm not teaching, when I'm not doing anything, because that's what I need. So the one thing I'd like is for people to come to us and be able to say, you know what, over the next 5 years, we managed to figure out what was our path, and Esprit Concrete helped us a bit closer to get there.
Yeah. Even if it's just they came to 2 classes and understood a bit what we had to say, and they take it on with them and then understood it.
So lastly, to finish up, what advice would you give to people who would like to try parkour but haven't got round to trying it yet?
Don't do it.
I think for me it's basically don't wait for you to be fit, because that's what we hear all the time. I need to be fit before I try parkour. Parkour is movement. You know, you walk every day, you climb stairs every day. We do that just a little bit faster. Like literally, that's how it starts. And for most of the people who come, everyone is always surprised by how different it is to what they imagined. And it's the same in life. Like, we can go in our heads thinking about things that we've never experienced and imagining the worst case scenario that it could be, and the media doesn't help with that. But actually, unless you actually come and try it for yourselves, you're not going to know. And a lot of the time, especially with, I can speak for us, because we just want to meet people. We want to get to know people, and through moving you can get to know people more intimately, because you're seeing them at their weakest, at their strongest. There's nothing more sort of pure and, I don't know, like exhilarating to see, you know, and you're exploring whole things about yourself you've never even tried. And yeah, I've just forgotten it in film. But yeah, this is parkour. It's fun, you know. We make it really, really fun.
Don't break the stuff. So
And
I probably don't remember that, do you?
it's supposed to be challenging, but not breaking. The aim is to, you know, exactly. The aim is to share together, discover together, and Jan will always say, find a smile in every training. So for us, yes, it will be difficult, but for it to be a struggle is a choice. We don't train for perfection. We train because practice equals progress. That's what I said at Milan this time. Like, that's what I believe. If I trained and I thought, oh yeah, I need to be perfect, I'd get myself into a whole whirlwind. I'd never train, because I can't be perfect. And if you think you need to prepare to do something, I honestly think that's the wrong way to go. You need to take just that leap of faith of coming and trusting people who actually, you know, do love what they do. They live by what they do. They try to, you know, they try to make sure that you're going to be accommodated for. So it's safe, it's fun, it's really useful. You get a good workout, you make awesome friends, and you get to travel. I mean, the more parkour you do, the more passport you have for the rest of your life, all over the world.
So yeah, like usually people who don't want to try parkour, they have mainly 2 reasons. It's first, it's dangerous, and second is they're not fit for it. They're not enough fit enough to try it. So for the dangerous one, I have 2 allusion? No. How you say, like comparisons? Yeah. So for the dangerous one, it's like swimming. Yeah. When you learn to swim, you don't go in the Indian Ocean and start swimming with the sharks. Yeah, you don't do that. You start with in a swimming pool where you can touch the floor, and then you have your duck bracelet thingy to float. Okay, so you start with something safe that you can manage, and then you learn the technique, and then you're like, in a puddle first, and then you're like, oh, a little bit deeper. So you don't touch the bottom, but if you have to, like, you can jump up and then go at the surface. So you try to learn. Once you're confident swimming in this, then you go, okay, well, deep end, boom, and you go for it. Yeah. So now you know how to swim. You know how to save yourself if you don't touch the floor. Now, okay, let's try in the sea. So you do in the sea, and good. And then you're like, okay, I know how to swim in the sea. I'm going to try to go faster. So then you go faster, and then you say, oh, there's a shark. Let me swim off the shark. Okay, that doesn't happen, but that's the idea. So if you don't start in the puddle first and you try to start in the sea, you're going to die. Yeah? That's really simple. Yeah, you're going to die because you don't know how to swim. So parkour is the same thing. You don't start jumping on roofs. That's the result of people who have been training for a while, because they've been training, they started on the floor, they did some small jump, then make it bigger, then make it more tricky or whatever. And then now they show the result of what they did. So it can be dangerous if you want to make it dangerous, but it's like everything, you need to progress into it. And the second reason they give is they're not fit enough. So, second comparison, it's a new thing, yeah? Like, oh, I want to try a new thing. Oh, parkour, but I'm not fit enough. So I say, all right, so parkour is like walking, okay? When you start to learn how to walk, it takes you a long time, like at least a year, yeah? Because a baby comes after the mom and doesn't know how to walk. It's like crawl for a few months, and then it's like, oh, okay, I'm going to go on my knees because I have knees. I want to go higher and see what's going on up there. So it's going to go on the knees and crawl again a bit more. But they don't start by, oh, I want to walk and stand up and walk. Yeah. So there's the progression that needs to be done for everything. Like, you can progress everything. So thinking that you're not fit enough, it's normal, because all you see of parkour is people jumping on roofs and doing muscle ups and being really fit and stuff. But that's not the reality of it. There's a lot of people going to parkour class. They do parkour, but they don't do the stuff that you can see on YouTube, because they're at a stage of progression that they don't want to show because they're shy or they don't think it's worth it. So that's what we work on. Like, first, making sure that it's accessible for everyone, and then that they can be proud of the stage they're on. Maybe not proud. Proud is not the word, but they can assume the state they're on. Yeah. So if you're a beginner and you think that, well, it's normal to be a beginner at some point, then be proud of it. It's like, okay, I can do this jump. It's really tiny.
I think
but
for us, the three main things, like, we have movement to empower written on our site, because that's what it is. The movement you do is supposed to empower. That's how we see it. You know, if it's not empowering you, then we'd explore why it's not empowering you. But eventually, you understand how to make it a strength. That's what we aim. But the best thing about parkour is you don't do parkour. You get to know things that then look like parkour, but it's your parkour. So the way Yao moves is not going to be the same as the way I move. The way you move is not going to be the same as the way I move. Mm-hmm. So the parameters that you put yourself, even roof gaps, you do roof gaps if you want to do roof gaps. Yeah. If you don't want to do roof gaps, it's up to you. Really. You know, there are no sort of levels in our mind. Different people see it differently. But yeah, everything is steps. And even for people who are really, really experienced, I'm sure that when they see a scary jump for the first time, they're back to step one. The only difference is they've got a few tools in their backpack that make them look at that jump a little bit differently. But the fear that some of them feel when they're doing things is just as real as the fear of a beginner.
So, well, they don't quit.
Yeah.
But yeah. So, like, if you want to start parkour, start parkour.
Yeah.
Don't think that you need to be strong, wise, beautiful, agile, or fearless to do it. It's just, parkour is what you want to make of it. If you think that parkour is just walking on bicycle racks, it is. It really is.
The only thing you need to come to one of our classes is the will to try, and the will to hold back from expectation.
Yeah.
So we always say, just come. Don't think about what's going to be there.
Yeah.
Just come and say hi to us. That's
Yeah.
it. Then it begins.
And try to be happy. That's really important. That's the training we're having actually with us and the team. Trying to be happy moving. Because it changes a lot.
Finding your happiness
Yeah.
through moving.
Yeah.
Thanks for doing the interview with me today.
No problem.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
See you soon.
Not a problem at all. It was a pleasure.
Yes.
So can I have the word of the end?
Perfect, actually. Yeah, go. Final words from Yao. Stay in school, kids. Something about drugs.
Don't do drugs.
Boom.